Well, you guys, I think us as a civilization have officially made it because Bigfoot is vlogging. Boomers are releasing their deepest, darkest secrets on Meta AI's new social media app. The Pentagon just handed Palantir, this little shadow company that we'll get into later, about $30 million for a new government contract to, keep things more efficient. And here's the craziest one. Alexander Wang, who is a tech billionaire, is essentially waiting, holding off on having kids until chips become more readily available. I'm not talking about the snacks, I'm talking about chips implanted into your brain. It's giving dystopian. It's giving, I don't know where we're headed. And on a serious note, this week has become one of the most important weeks of our lifetime. I'm not going to get into the war or anything happening in the Middle East as of right now, but I will probably get into it later. And I'm just going to ask this question. Is this 1984? Is this dystopian? Who knows? All of that and more on the Brighten Your Day show. Okay, so there were so many stories that I could have put into this episode, and truly, news moves fast. And I honestly don't know if I'm news and I'm going to be reporting on news or if I'm just reporting on whatever I feel like reporting on. But holy cow, the tech space is moving so incredibly fast, and this is where we get into our first story. Bigfoot is vlogging. I'm not even kidding. These videos are actually really clever. Whoever's making them, I think there's a lot of people that are making them, but especially the original person that came up with this, super clever, super funny, and they are raking in millions and millions and millions of views. And I sit here and think about all of the real people that are also making content, me included, but especially influencers and stuff, and their views versus this. And it just shows that the public doesn't really care if they're human or not. If it's entertaining, if it's funny, if it's creative, we'll watch and we will enjoy every second of it. I want to get into little clips of Bigfoot. Not we're going to watch the whole thing, but I just find it really funny.
Not too straight, not too bendy. Like my posture before coffee.
Takes patience. You rush it, you snap it, and cry in the woods alone.
Vine sinew, twisted tight, strong enough to launch dinner, or a squirrel by mistake.
Isn't that freaking funny? I just I sit here and I'm the line of what is real and what is fake is so thin, it's not even funny at this point. Bigfoot, his movements and the sounds and how he's whittling this knife and stuff. It's crazy that we even have the capability to make something like this. It's half crazy, it's half impressive. I was gonna say it's half scary, but then that would be 3. So would I say it's a third? It's a third scary, impressive, whatever. It's cool. I don't even know what to think about it. I just feel like that is the pinnacle of what we are dealing with online, what the social landscape is looking like. It's interesting, and yet some of the comments are I cannot believe that this is real. I can't believe that, not real, but I can't believe that we have the technology and the capability to do something like this. And at least for now, younger people in my generation know that this isn't real. But this gets me into my next story because Meta, you done did the boomers dirty, okay? I went on a little investigative thing myself, but this all started because I saw this tweet by Justine Moore on Twitter where I believe she was the one that was kind of breaking this story, and so I had to do a deep dive, which I'll get into in a little bit, but this tweet says this. She says, wild things are happening on Meta AI's app. The feed is almost entirely boomers who seem to have no idea their conversations with the chatbots are posted publicly. She just said, I spent an hour browsing the app and saw medical and tax records, private details on court cases, draft apology letters for crimes, home addresses, confessions of affairs, and much, much more. And you guys, it's bad. It is so bad that I was at the gym and I, took one for the team and I decided to download this app. And I would not say to download this app because the things that you see on this app, it's not only the private messages that are getting leaked, or honestly, it's not even getting leaked. They're sharing it without their knowledge that they're pressing share. But it's the weirdest AI dystopian looking social media landscape. So, I mean, you just got to look for yourself, but Like, there's these people online that are just asking AI to like generate images, and it'll be like Trump in a bathtub wearing a bib, or like some weird stuff. And I was like scrolling through. It was weird. It was odd, but I personally caught these poor boomers posting some things that you would not want online. I saw a conversation of a person that was getting evicted and wanted to know how to get out of it. I saw another conversation of a person that had kind of a falling out or an argument with like a wife or a girlfriend, and then talking to the chatbot, like saying what had happened during that argument. I saw more mild stuff, just people saying they're struggling losing weight and how they can like help, but I still don't think that they posted that on purpose. At least I wouldn't post that on purpose. It was just really interesting and really weird. And I just like go back to the time that Facebook or Meta, used to be a place that you just saw your aunt sharing a dog or your uncle sharing a meme that was just not funny, but then you liked it because you wanted to give him some support. I just want to go back to that time where Facebook was the land of the boomers. I'm just kidding. Honestly, I know lots of like my friends that are on Facebook as well, and I just don't really go on Facebook. I don't even like Instagram. I don't even know what I feel about social media as a whole. Obviously, I'm on YouTube a lot. YouTube, I'm like, I think I like. Who freaking knows at this point? But let's just get back to the good old times that social media was semi-normal. I mean, I know we can't ever go back there because it's just simply not going to happen, because AI is going to take over everything and is already taking over our feeds and our algorithms. And if you guys want to know more about that, my opinion about that, I can link up a video up here where I went fully into the algorithm and how it might be controlling you. But I'll save that for another time. But the funniest thing to end this story that I find just so freaking funny is like Meta responded and tried to add some sort of pop-up or something. I'm not exactly sure what they did, but it was like, are you sure you want to post this? And I kind of think that is like offering somebody a parachute after they already jumped and landed on the ground. Like, it just did nothing. I think a lot of people have already gotten exposed. But if you want to be a good Samaritan and download that app, go ahead and let your fellow boomer know that all of their conversations are being shared online, and maybe encourage them to delete it. I don't know. I actually thought about doing that myself, but I was just like, girl, I don't even know. I don't have time. To each their own. Who knows? Which this does remind me / concern me about the AI and privacy debate as a whole. Obviously, with ChatGPT, there are more and more concerns with privacy and how, like, it's funny because I literally use ChatGPT to like write my script. I'm no stranger to AI or ChatGPT whatsoever, but it's like there's a lot of concerns around ChatGPT and privacy, and also ChatGPT and LLM models as a whole being sued for claims of copyright infringement, because the way that LLMs, and if you don't know what an LLM is, it's essentially the chatbots that we know today. So it's ChatGPT, it's Perplexity, it's Grok, it's what's the other one? Claude, like all of these chatbots. They were trained on data made by us, especially online data. So the claim is they are scrapping data. So this gets me into this lawsuit that the New York Times actually filed against OpenAI. It basically just says the Times sued OpenAI and Microsoft for copyright infringement in 2023, accusing the companies of copying and using millions of the newspaper's articles to train their AI models. The publication argues that saving users' data help preserve evidence to support this case, which I was like, wait, what the heck? So the New York Times is actually telling OpenAI to save the chats. I thought it was originally like ChatGPT that was having privacy concerns, and I think it is in another sector, another conversation, but this I thought was just kind of interesting. It says that last month a court ordered OpenAI to preserve all output log data that would otherwise be deleted, even if a user requests the deletion of chat, or if privacy laws require OpenAI to delete data. OpenAI's policies state that when a user deletes a chat, it retains it for 30 days before permanently deleting it. The company must now put a pause on this policy until the court says otherwise. I just was like, huh? Like, wouldn't we want them to be deleting our data? And who knows? I don't know. It just was really confusing to me. Honestly, if anyone has any insight on this, let me know. I thought that was weird. But all in all, here's the lesson. If I'm gonna sit here and just give you a lesson like I know everything, which I don't, but I think about this and I'm like, here's the lesson of all of this. It wouldn't be bad. It would not be a bad idea to assume that any type of AI software or chatbot or anything, any type of social media account or, whatever, would be saving your data. It would not be wrong to assume that, and it would probably save you in the future because we don't know what this data is being used for, whether it's being handed over to the police for some reasons or being handed over to other things. Oh my gosh, this actually gets me into another story, but I will probably have to do this later because I don't know fully about it. But if you guys don't know, 23andMe was this company that promised to, open your eyes and link you to your long lost ancestors and help you with your genealogy. And you just had to like spit your DNA into this tube and ship it off. And then they would let you know like who you're connected to and whatnot. So I've heard, and I think I'm going to have to look this up. So don't quote me on this, but this is another one. It's like, I heard that 23andMe is actually being bought out right now. And there's a lot of lawsuits or at least conversations happening like, hey, 23andMe has all of this data on Americans and all this DNA data and all this stuff that's just going to be like sent off. It's just going to be like given over to whoever decides to buy it. Because if you don't know, data is the thing that these people want. Data is the thing that is feeding all of this, whether it's AI, social media algorithms, it doesn't matter. So just be safe out there. I'm not trying to fearmonger. I'm just trying to talk about it because I am learning a lot and almost a lot against my will to do with this show because it's really opening my eyes to the extent of what people will do for power and for information on you, which leads me into my next story. So there is so much I could say on Palantir. And if you don't know what Palantir is, this is basically what happened. Palantir, this shadow company that we'll get into in a little bit, their stock has been outperforming so many other stocks. I think it was one of the most outperforming stocks of all time, at least in I either think 2024. I saw this article. So it says shares of Palantir have rocketed nearly 90% higher this year thanks to the part of the company's expanding role with the US government under the Trump administration. The federal government has deployed a Palantir software platform called Foundry at least 4 agencies, including the Department of Homeland Security and the Health and Human Services Department, according to reports. Should we have like a moment of silence for this? I'm just kidding. I know there's a lot of conversation around this. There's some people that really like it. Really like it. And there's other people that are a little hesitant. So before I get into my opinion, if I may, about all of this, I just want to highlight the other side's opinion because I think that is only fair. So on one hand, people are arguing that Palantir and its software and its very tight-knit relations with the US government is a very good thing because it's going to make government agencies more efficient overall. So there's government agencies over here and all this stuff, and it's like they'll have data on your health over here and then they'll have data on your immigration status over here. And instead of having them broken up into all these different agencies, Palantir is essentially trying to put it into one. So they will look at you as a person, look at your face, whatever they do, and then it'll pull up absolutely everything they could possibly know about you. So people are just saying like, oh, it's very efficient. It's very, very efficient for the government to do that. I don't know why we want the government so extremely efficient when it comes to our information as a whole. Another argument that I see a lot, especially with like my age group of people, is we're not naive to the fact that we know that the government basically has everything about you already. And whether it's the government agencies or private corporate agencies, like everybody knows everything about you. And that's not really necessarily a secret anymore. So people are like, why does it really matter? Because they already have everything on you anyway. So if they all like put it together, it doesn't really matter. And I understand that, But to that, I will say this. I was watching this video with Greenwald, and if you don't know who Glenn Greenwald is, holy cow, it's hard to say his name. If you don't know who he is essentially a journalist, been a journalist for a long time, actually started, I believe, in like the blogging era. And he said this, which I was like, that is so, so fair. So he essentially said, I am fine with the government being broken up into different agencies and knowledge in different agencies and being weaker because I want it to be weaker. I don't want it to be all powerful and all strong. And obviously I'm paraphrasing here and I couldn't find the clip, but essentially he just said like, it's okay for some of the government tasks to be broken up and to be weakened because they are broken up. We don't want the all-knowing government to like exist, if that makes sense. And honestly, that made perfect sense to me because it's like, I understand there's inefficiencies in the government. Totally understand that. Totally understand that there's like waste and all of this stuff. And I really don't want to get into it because I'm honestly not trying to be a political channel whatsoever. So if you're trying to find like true political news and knowledge, I don't want to be one of those people because I'm just a girl trying to figure out what's happening in the world. But I will say that makes sense to me. And if you haven't read 1984, you should. And if you have, this just reminds me of Big Brother and the Thought Police. And I don't like that. I don't like that a lot. But the person that actually takes the cake in all of this, in like in his delivery as well as his opinion, is none other than the comedian Tim Dillon. I freaking love that guy. Honestly, I sit there on my show and I'm like, I want to bring some more comedy to all of this because nobody knows what's going on and everyone just will have an opinion and everyone's opinions is skewed anyways, so why not laugh a little bit about everything that's happening. But I really want to play this clip for you guys because he's just so funny and also so spot on and simultaneously almost like a journalist that just exposed the underbelly of Palantir and propaganda that's happening with Palantir. So I just want to show you this.
Is the administration that got elected to purge the deep state actually using the deep state to compile a list of data on all the people that live here? This shadowy company Palantir that works with the CIA and the military. If you don't have any reservations about Palantir taking everyone's information, I don't know. I can't. I don't know if I can trust you. I think they're buying people left and right. This is my guess. They try to buy me. My it costs a lot of money.
I actually watched his original video or like podcast as he was talking about this, and it was too freaking good. I was laughing so hard when he said that. I just agree. Like it's like shit. I don't know. I like to think everybody has the best intentions. So people that think that this is a good idea, I try and understand like why they think it's a good idea. But he just said it best, like, how long are we going to like let this happen and see the people that are really pushing for it? It's like, do we trust that? I'll leave it up to discussion. I'm not trying to tell you what to think. I will let you go ahead and figure that out yourself. I just want to bring it to the table because it is freaking funny. But I will end with this because we are going to do a deep dive later, I believe, on Palantir. I think. I'm a little worried to talk about it if I'm going to be honest with you, but I think it needs to be talked about and deserves to be talked about. But I will leave you with this. The CEOs, you should look into them. Peter Thiel's very much involved, Elon Musk, as well as Alex Karp. I know I have to do more research on that. They have some very interesting backgrounds, as well as the name itself, Palantir. So that was just an interesting choice by them. And I wanted to do a little bit of research as to why they decided to name it Palantir, because I remembered watching the Lord of the Rings that I believed was a stone or like something to do with a stone in the Lord of the Rings. Honestly, maybe you're going to hate me because I'm not a huge Lord of the Rings fan, but I kind of want to be. So maybe you can give me some more insight, but I just wanted to do a little bit of research as to why they decided to name it Palantir. So according to this article, it says the Palantiri in Lord of the Rings allowed their users to communicate with each other and see what was happening near them. Palantiria granted users visions of other spaces and other times, penetrating through solid matter to see beyond walls, enabling users to see things. So it's kind of deemed as like this all-knowing, all-seeing stone, okay? Pretty fitting, pretty odd. I don't even know what to think about that. To be honest with you, I was a little concerned. And then I remembered, wait, wasn't there something kind of like the Lord of the Rings, the ring, that corrupted its users with this stone? And maybe people can correct me on this, but I did a little more digging. And indeed, at least in this article, it says the corruption of Saruman. So it says rings are not the only things that can entrap the unwary. Some of the most potent corruptors are the Palantiri. Wizards are known for their strong wills, and yet one of the most powerful was taken in by a Palantir. Saruman of many colors desired Orthenic. I don't know what I'm talking about anymore, but it says, for one important reason, it contained one of the seeing stones. Unfortunately, it was his downfall, Gandalf says. So Gandalf is like the good witch, and then there's Saruman, who's the bad witch. And apparently the Palantiri stone is the thing that corrupted him. I could be wrong, but I read that directly off of, I believe, kind of like a Wikipedia for Lord of the Rings. Pretty interesting, pretty weird. Why do they name it that? Why do they have ties to the US government? Why do they have ties to the sitting vice president? Why are they in other wars in the Middle East, helping people with horrific acts? Why are they helping members in ICE detect faces? I don't know. That's a pretty hot topic. It's a pretty scary topic. Do I want to touch it? Do I want to not? I don't know. And I do sit here with all this and I'm like, okay, so worst case scenario, whatever. They're bad. Who knows? We don't know, but they're bad and they're in the US government and people in the US government are bad or whatever. And then I was actually going to do a whole other episode on the UK and how they're criminalizing speech and free speech and calling it hate speech. And I kind of wanted to talk about it now because I think about this in like a surveillance state and really what this software could be used for if put in the wrong hands. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, they could just survey you. They could just tell you to not say the things that you're saying. And if you say something out of line, they could just have you not say the things out of line. And that is kind of what's happening in the UK, especially when it comes to social media. And I believe like podcasters and free media on social media are so important, especially journalists that are not bought and paid for by anyone. I believe free speech and all of this is so important to be talking about because they're already trying to jail people for speech online. You heard that correctly. So if you don't know, I will get into this a little bit and maybe I'll do another deep dive on this. But essentially, I read this article that says the UK has been arresting about 30 people a day for comments made online. Basically saying that like it's not considered free speech anymore. If you say something hateful, that's actually deemed under hate speech, which isn't free speech. The last time I thought about like what free speech was, it was like you could actually say anything. And that's at least how I deem free speech. I don't know. It's kind of a confusing thing right here. Obviously the UK is in the US, so they have different rules over there. But yeah, they've been arresting people. I actually read about this couple that was in a WhatsApp group and was talking about the school that their children went to. And they had posted something online saying like they didn't like what the school was doing or something like that. And they got put in jail for their opinion because of hate speech. And I was like, huh? I also saw this TikTok video of this old man getting arrested, and the cop literally told him, hey, she called, so the woman that called to arrest this man, she called the police and claimed that his comments were giving her anxiety online. And that's why he was getting thrown in jail. I just sit here, and I think I'm just trying to lay out a story. Like, what does this mean? What does this mean when we give a government a power? Because I don't think that they can take anything back. So I'm trying to sit here almost like pull back from everything and be like, is this a good idea? And obviously I know nothing and I can't really change anything about it, but I think we need to be talking about all of this and more paying attention. I think that's my ending message with this segment right here is just pay attention. Pay attention to the laws being put in place, pay attention to where the money goes, pay attention to the deals struck with private companies. Just pay attention to it. But for now, we have to talk about chips. And I don't mean the chips, you know, the snacks, but I mean the ones that could be implanted into our brains. And this story was so utterly eerie to me and interesting and all of the above. So essentially, Alexander Wang, the CEO of Scale AI, he is about 28 years old. And when I was looking at his net worth, I believe it was 3 point something billion dollars as a 28-year-old. He's grown an incredible amount recently, obviously. He actually just struck a deal with Meta, which was $14.3 billion, this deal. And Meta is basically investing into Scale AI as well as Alexander Wang. And he's leaving the company and basically going over to Meta to help with, I believe it was like a new section of Meta. I believe they're trying to do something with AI. They're trying to progress AI. I can't actually remember what it was. Let me see. Okay, yeah. So basically just said Meta is investing $14.3 billion into Scale AI, landing the startup CEO Alexander Wang to help the company's artificial intelligence efforts. That's pretty, I guess, understandable. That's not really what I'm talking about here, but I did see that he just struck that deal and he is so young and I just kind of can't believe it. It's crazy the amount of money that is in tech and in AI. And obviously, if you looked at our last election, there was a lot of big tech names there and big tech names shilling out a lot of freaking money. But this is where we get into the actual conversation that I want to have. That's nothing really to do with politics and more to do with future in kids. So Alexander Wang went on the podcast, The Sean Ryan Show, and he was talking about how he was waiting to have kids until they could figure out a way to put in chips because it would give their kids advantages. I'm not really sure. Let's play this clip and then we'll talk about it.
I want to wait to have kids until we figure out how Neuralink or other, it's called brain computer interfaces, so other ways for brains to interlink with a computer until they start working. So there's a few reasons for this. First is in your first like 7 years of life, your brain is more neuroplastic than at any other point in your life, like by an order of magnitude. I think when we get Neuralink and we get these other technologies, kids who are born with them are going to learn how to use them in like crazy ways. Like it'll be actually like a part of their brain in a way that it'll never be true for an adult who gets like a Neuralink or whatever hooked into their brain. And humans, we're only evolving at a certain rate. Like humans are, humans will get smarter over time. It's just on the time scale of like millions of years because natural selection and evolution is really slow. If you play this forward, right, like you're going to have AIs that are going to continue getting smarter, continue improving, like they're going to keep improving really quickly. And, biology is going to improve only so fast. And so what we need at some point is the ability to tap into AI ourselves. And so eventually, I think we're going to need some interlink or hookup between our brains directly to AI and the internet and all these things. It is potentially dangerous and it's potentially, to your point, terrifying and scary, but we just are going to have to do it. Like AI is going to go like this. Humans are going to improve at a much slower rate, and we're going to need to hook into that capability.
Okay, we're going to need to hook into that capability, he says. I'm rarely left like very speechless on a topic, but this is something that I think needs to be taken seriously because I believe that this is going to be a huge conversation in years to come. And maybe I'm sounding doomsday. Maybe I'm sounding a little bit like I wear tinfoil, which I do. I do love my conspiracy theories, but obviously he said it. It's not really conspiracy theory at this point. It is going to be a huge conversation that we are going to be having in the future, especially like my kids. I don't have kids right now. And then my grandkids. It's like, do you chip or do you not chip? And I understand actually at the very end of this clip what he's saying in terms of, hey, AI is going to be just insanely smart, way smarter than human capabilities ever are and ever will be. And so it makes sense that we can help ourselves by like interlinking ourselves into an all-powerful, all-knowing AI. But I don't know if that is the answer. I don't know. I'm truly left speechless on this topic. I'm left speechless because I think that people in Silicon Valley and the Silicon Valley sphere, when they get around each other and when they see these developing technologies, it's almost like they look at humans as lesser than in every single possible way. And it almost is like they deem human life as less important. And I mean, if you look back into the evolution of tech and things that are going on right now as well as in the past, it's like a lot of these tech guys look at some of these things that they make and they don't ever really think about the ramifications that it has on humans because they're so infatuated with tech and so infatuated with AI, which leads me into AI wars as a whole. I believe we are in like an all-out AI war. It's not even like I believe it. It's what's happening right now. If you look at how many data centers are being built right now, how many AI laws that are being put into place, basically saying, hey, you actually can't stop the rate of AI because we are trying to compete with other large countries around the world. I just sit here and I think about why that's happening and what's happening about that. And then when it comes to him talking about kids and waiting to have kids until he can hook them into this all-knowing network. Like, I don't even like to say that I am a super, super religious person, but I just, in my gut, that doesn't feel right. That feels very wrong because who is controlling that AI? Like, who's to say? And I feel like we're already connected to screens enough. We wake up and we are being told what to do and told what to think. If you have this 6-inch thing that just could control you, TV in general, the news in general, I think we have so many ways that we're already interconnected with technology and social media as a whole. It's like we really need to bring that into a whole new level as to implanting something into your head, into your brain. I don't believe it. I don't want it. I don't want it. I think that's what I'm saying. That is what I'm saying. I don't want it. Let me know if you would chip yourself or your kid. And I will pose that question. Like, let's say this technology gets incredibly good. Let's say it's even super safe and nobody's having issues anymore. Would you decide to? Because I kind of also think that in the future, there's going to be like the haves and then the have-nots or decide-nots. And the decide-nots are going to be outcasts in a way. This is very, very in the future. At least I hope so. I don't believe that this is like an imminent threat whatsoever. But in another way, it's like, when is it enough and when is it too much? And I, for one, don't want to be turned into a cyborg. Yeah, let me know. Let me know what you think about this. I will leave you with that. I will leave you with all of that information. Like I said, go ahead and look for yourself. Really, I just want to be grounded and talk about these issues and things. I would love for a conversation and your opinions on all of this always. And that actually leads me into reading some of your comments, because my very first video I ever did kind of in this setting, I got so many comments and so many interesting comments. And so thank you so much for leaving comments and insights. It's been so fun so far. Okay, so this video was on screen time, and so many people were commenting about how they can, help with screen time. So Julia Cornell said, I've greatly reduced my consumption of YouTube shorts and even long form YouTube videos just by replacing them with audiobooks. I never really liked audiobooks until I listened to one or two while driving on a long road trip and managed to train my brain to actually follow them. Listening comprehension is a lot like reading comprehension, something you have to train, which I totally agree. I feel like I talked about the war on books and the war on reading and how we're not reading as much anymore. And I do think that reading is incredible because it trains your brain to slow down. I feel like audio books would kind of be along the same lines as like a podcast. But yeah, especially physical reading is great. Okay, so Maggie Murphy 4092 said, our attention is a resource. We need to take it back for ourselves, which I totally agree. If you've never heard this comment, this quote, there's a quote that says, if you're not paying for a service and it's free, then your attention and your time is is the payment, essentially. And I was like, whoa, that is true, because attention is the biggest currency right now. Okay, so this one says, I've never liked reading even before TikTok and doom scrolling. I always struggled with it, so I never got into it. Then I discovered manga, and that helped for a long time. But then I realized I'm just looking for ways to escape, and that's what all of these things provide. I'm sharing this because, well, I don't have a reason. I just wanted to. I really liked your video. You were vulnerable and didn't shame people. It felt down to earth, and like you said, there's so much more content out there that's made just to piss you off, and I think I've been consuming so much that that's why I've been feeling so exhausted, but I can't escape, because what else can I do that will give me the same stimuli? I totally understand that, and I thought that was so vulnerable and so beautiful at the same time. It's so true. Like, I don't know about you, but I've definitely gone on like social media detoxes, or like I'll delete my apps or whatever. And then I'm like, wow, I have so much free time. And then I sit there and I waste it all with something else. Like, I remember deleting all my social media apps, and then I got hooked on a TV show, and I literally just binged watched the TV show, and it didn't even matter. Like, all of my time was still taken away from me. I think that there's something to be said that's so deep with what this comment said. What I think is, we are humans that have obviously a nervous system. And I think that with today's world, so many things that you could be paying attention to, or like watching or consuming or whatever, is making us stressed out. And we're also not used to having stillness. So those two things combined, like, once you're stressed out because of what you're watching, and then once you're not used to having stillness, it's a recipe for disaster, because as soon as you're able to let your brain rest, and the much needed rest that it needs, where you're not consuming anything and you're just sitting with yourself, it really does cause your psyche, yourself, to freak out. And I've noticed this before, especially when I've started meditating even. It's like, you almost have to be just like uncomfortable, and you have to sit in the discomfort long enough for your brain to finally realize that it actually is craving what you're giving it, which is the stillness and is the silence. But yeah, it's almost like, to this person and to myself, I always like to ask myself, like, what is it that I'm running away from? What is it that's stressing me out? Because if you can sit there and get to the underlying reasons as to why you're doing what you're doing, it's only a means to an end. Like, the reason why you're doom scrolling chronically, or I mean, really anything else in terms of like addictions that you can have, it's because you're trying to fulfill something with that addiction. And if that addiction didn't help you become more numb, or become, just like able to allow you to disassociate, then it wouldn't be serving that purpose, and then you wouldn't be addicted to it. Obviously, I know there's like chemical things as to why you can be chemically dependent on something, and that's something totally different. But what I'm saying is, find the underlying reason as to why you're doing what you're doing. Don't shame yourself and shame the action. Just replace it with a better action, and whatever that is for you. I don't really like saying, hey, you have to meditate or you have to work out. Although I'll always say you have to work out, because I'm a personal trainer and I believe health and wellness and whatever. But it's like, find the underlying thing and find a way to help it that helps you. That is your choice. So whether it's reading, crocheting, whatever, it's your choice. It's your choice to take back your time and take back your attention. And truly, at the end of the day, that is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to share all these things, trying to just shed light on these topics, so then we can talk about it and we can have a brighter day. And yeah, until next time. Bye.